Get underway.
Yeah.
Thanks once again. And I'm really delighted to be doing this presentation this evening. Now, what I've tried to do, or what I've done, I should say, is develop this presentation over a period of a year, and I've adjusted it, adapted it to suit the needs of the audience that I'm addressing. So at my last audience in Winneba, Ghana in December, I went through this presentation, and what I tried to do is to give an overview of Calypso as a music of resistance, empowerment, and change. So as I go through, you will see slides that take us back to Africa. I give a little background in Calypso, and then I will end here in Canada because I think that this is most pertinent. So I will simply touch on other artists, Calypso artists, who have made a great contribution. Some of the names you'll be familiar with, but I'll spend most of the time on my own Calypso, which is called Christie. The reason I'm doing that is simply, well, you'll understand that as we go. Okay, so let's get underway. And my first slide here, the purpose through my presentation today, I'll demonstrate that I've got to move this around a bit so that it doesn't get in the way. Sorry about that. That composers and calypsonians have had a long interest in African affairs and in some instances have used calypso music to address issues of great importance. Now, by saying African here, I really mean Africa and its diaspora. If you're familiar with calypso music, I hope to broaden your perspective and enable you to contextualize it differently. If you're new to calypso music, I hope that my presentation will prompt you to investigate further. We go to the next slide, and you'll see that I've incorporated here, this may be quite familiar to many of you, that is the ever so familiar slave trade route, or the triangular trade, or the Atlantic slave trade, whatever name we choose to put to it. But I have included these maps to, again, make that African connection and to demonstrate that over many, many years, this has been an ongoing connection and art form. The next slide, Trinidad, Calypso music. Calypso music, as we've come to know it, originated, I want to bring this down, in 19th century Trinidad, which was still a British colony, not yet politically linked to Tobago. And I stress that because now it is politically incorrect to say Trinidad and not say Trinidad and Tobago or Trinbago. So I have to make sure I let people know that once we contextualize it, it's really correct to say Trinidad at the time. Next slide. It's generally associated with Carnival and the steel pan. It lends itself to a wide range of topics. Through travel, tourism, commerce, and cultural exchanges, it is spread to all parts of the world. Most people hear only the few popular calypsos played by DJs, so they experience this music and its derivative, soca, by going to parties and having a good time. They're not aware of calypso's power to stir their consciousness, sorry about that, to stir their consciousness, inspire them to resist various forms of prejudice, oppression, and injustice, and to empower and help them to change existing conditions. And omit that part about Ghana and the conference. However, I will point out that this connection with Africa, Lord Kitchener, or Kitch, as we have come to know him, played a very important role during Ghana's independence, in that he composed a calypso which was titled Ghana, and that was Calypso's contribution to Ghana's independence back in 1957. I'll just play a little clip of that for you, which I believe I have here. Some pictures of Lord Kitch back in the day. And then we go to, again, that diagram, that illustration of that African Caribbean, North American, South American connection, the flag of Ghana, and we hear a snippet of that Calypso. Here we go. Are you hearing the sound?
No.
No, I'm unable to hear it.
Wow. Woo, woo, woo.
I think
It's a surprise.
There's some kind of setting you have to change in your share screen in order to play sound from a video. It's been a long time since I've done it though.
Okay.
yes. If you click share screen down at the
Yes.
bottom,
Bottom
there should
share.
be two boxes, one for video and one for audio, I think.
Okay, let me go back to that again. I'm sorry. Let's see what we have here. No, not that one. Share screen down at the bottom.
Yeah.
And I'm at the very bottom. All I have is, oh, share sound, I believe it is.
Yeah, that'll be the one.
I think I got it. Okay, so tell me now.
This day will never be forgotten. The 6th of March 1957, when the Gold Coast successfully get their independence official. Ghana is the name. We wish to proclaim we will be jolly, merry and gay. The 6th of March, Independence Day. Dr. Nkrumah went out his way to make the Gold Coast what it is today. He endeavored continually to bring us freedom and liberty. Ghana is the name. We wish to proclaim we will be jolly, merry and gay. The 6th of March, Independence Day.
All right, so I indulge you a little with that one. Now, there's been this ongoing debate both in academia and among practitioners and people who are not academics as to the derivation of Calypso. And it's been demonstrated time and time again that it's linked to the griot of West Africa, the storytelling tradition, which makes it so relevant to what we're talking about today. And so this piece here that I dedicated to Ghana, again, reestablishes that link between the African continent, especially West Africa, and the Caribbean, which is where the Calypso art form has developed. Now, Calypso, again, as a music of empowerment, resistance, empowerment, and change. We have seen many artists deal with issues. And here now we go to Kelvin Pope, the Mighty Duke. Now, you remember back in the 60s, we had many, many issues, the civil rights movement, the Black identity. I am trying to overcome that negative image that people have tried to impose on people of African ancestry. You'll remember Black is Beautiful. You'll remember the apartheid situation in South Africa. So here we have Kelvin Pope, the Mighty Duke, and I'll play 3 snippets from him because he was one of the Calypsonians who was very, very concerned about the civil rights issues, the issues concerning people of African ancestry. So I'll give you 3 snippets here. Listen carefully. Black is Beautiful.
Many, many, many years it took. Now we have found the natural. Many, many, many years it took us to find the natural.
And then we go to
We see on the news each day, human lives are blown away. Mothers and fathers crying, burying their dead and dying. How many more I hear them say? Death is the highest price. Death is the total sacrifice. Yeah, brothers rather commit suicide than continue with apartheid. Father, beg me, Father, each day. Tell me, Father, tell me, how many more must die? How many more? How many more must die? How many more? How many more must die? For liberty. Well, how many more before the set South Africa free? Stop over. How many more must die? How many more? Mr. Starter? How many more must die? How many more? Mr. Reagan? How many more must die? For their dignity. Well, how many more before the set South Africa free?
And then we go to
Now from the moment I came of age, I clearly remember they used to have me marching across the stage singing Rule Britannia. But of my ancestry, listen what they taught me. Tarzan ruled the jungles of Africa. That's why I beg you, teach the children the truth which they have. So that their forefathers they'll see with honor, respect and pride. Teach them that Africa is where civilization began. Teach them that Africa was the cradle of creation. Teach them African purpose meant to walk on this universe. Teach them ancient Egyptians were all African. Teach them Jews of long ago were black men also. Teach them the Holy Quran, so Moses was an African.
And that was the mighty Pope. Now, as we go through, I would like you to, make your notes and so on. So when we come to the end, to the Q&A, I'll be able to, address any questions you have. But here we see in the mighty Duke, his real name was Kelvin Pope. And we see Black consciousness being addressed. And we think of the situation in Palestine today, in Gaza. And we asked that question again, how many more must die? And as he addressed the issues of apartheid in South Africa. And of course, education, which is always a major aspect of shaping our consciousness. You see that he addressed the issue of education. And we leave him, and again, reminders of that link between West Africa, the African continent, and the Caribbean, North and South America. In the introduction, it was stated that I visited Senegal and Ghana last year in October and December, respectively, and that was quite something for me. It affected my consciousness considerably, especially when I went to the Door of No Return on Goree Island. I don't know if any of you have made that trip, but we can talk about that later on. And also the Door of No Return at Elmina in Ghana. So that brought even more meaning to the importance of Calypso, the role that has played and continues to play in shaping our consciousness. Now, for the ladies, and I think we have mainly females, if that term is politically correct in the audience, just to show you that I'm not being chauvinistic in any way. Calypso crosses gender lines, it crosses racial lines, it crosses geography. And here we've had Calypsonians like Calypso Rose, she's still alive, Denise Plummer, who is passed, and singing Sandra, singing Francine, they're both passed. But I want you to listen to how they address the issue of women encouraging women to resist forms of oppression and abuse. And singing Francine has one she calls Runaway. Listen carefully.
You went and you put gold ring on she hand. You boasted in tongue that you wish you man. She said that you love, she boasted with joy. She give you a baby boy. Little did she know you wanted a man. Your next lady friend couldn't make me cry. Now she sit down and wondering what to do. How to get away, how to get away, how to get away from you. China's run away, founders run away, women cactus run away when you treated them bad. Cows run away, dogs run away, what happened to you? Woman, you could run away too.
And that was Runaway by Singing Francine. We come to Singing Sandra, who many of you know has been a Calypso monarch several times. She's no longer with us, but listen carefully. I think this one addresses the issue of exploitation in the workplace. And by the way, I think this is one of the songs that won her one of the Calypso Monarch titles. All right, Die With My Dignity.
You want to help to mind your family. You want to help your man financially. But nowadays it's really very hard to get a job as a girl in Trinidad. You're looking out to find something to do. You meet a boss man who promised to help you. But when the man laid down the condition, nothing else but humiliation. You want to see your whole anatomy. You want to see where your doctor never see. You want to do what your husband never do. So you will know if this scams will hire you. But if in all this humiliation, to get a job, please stay as a woman. Whether they go keep their money, I go keep my honey and die with my dignity.
And that was Singing Sandra, Die With My Dignity. This clip here, I think it is from Gorée Island off the coast of Senegal. Some of you, if you've been there, you'll recognize this fort. And we go to the next one, the Caribbean man, the black man. He's had many titles, and he too has been a Calypso monarch. Addressing again, especially the issues on the African continent. Now, many of you know his hit song, Black Man Feeling to Party, right? And everybody gets in the mood to party. But Black Stallion has been very, very conscious, again, about the treatment of people of African ancestry. And he addressed these through calypsos as well. Two of his more popular ones are More Come and Bundem. And I believe I have two clips here, which I'm going to play for you right now.
It's 400 years now and over. All them superpower try to invade Africa. Yes, they went down there with all the lust and the greed. But don't care how they try, they still can't succeed. Yes, they kill and they kill and keep killing. But the more that they kill, the more they see coming. And they try and they try and they can't make up with Africans. They just pack up the bag and gone, they come to the land. Why? You know Africans, they come down. You know Africans, they come. You know what we are, they kill. They keep on the sea coming. They kill Zulu, they kill Zulu, they kill Mosi, they kill Francie, Madame
And that was More Come. The next clip I'll play.
Judgment morning, I'm at the gate and I'm waiting, because I'm begging the master, give me a walk with Peter. If I come sinners coming, with them I go be dealing, because the things that they do me, I want to fix them personally. Peter wait, Peter looks at the roads by the gate. Peter, look the Englishman, we sent us the roads to Africa land. Peter, take drink rally, but leave Victoria for me. Peter Catches don't care what you say, but Mussolini he can't get away. Why? I'm running.
And we're moving right along from Black Stalin. And now a map of what we used to call the West Indies. Some people call the Caribbean to be more politically correct. And I take you to the island of Barbados and the mighty Gabi, who created a lot of controversy through his calypsos, again, showing resistance and trying to empower Bajans and bring about change. And some of you may be very familiar with two of his calypsos called Boots and Jack. I'll play two clips. And while I'm doing this, I've been bothered about the sound. I don't know what it sounds like to you, but I want to try something very quickly to see if this will enhance the sound. And give me a thumbs up or thumbs down if it doesn't work. Okay, here we go.
Right, the government moves, the government moves.
Thank you.
Is it necessary to have so much soldiers in this small country? No, 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 no. Is it necessary to shine soldier boots with taxpayers' money? No, 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 no. Put them in St. Lucie, unemployment high, and the treasury low, and keep buying boots to have a soldier toe. I see them boots and more boots, on the feet of young, trigger happy recruits. I see them boots and more boots, marching, threatening army troops. They'll come, I say, that's what I do. But to see of me and you, and most of all, are you children, and stop them soldiers from marching. Left, right, the government moves, the government moves. Left, right, the government moves, the government moves. Left, right, the government moves, the government moves. Left, right, the government moves, the government moves.
Okay, so that was Government Boots by the mighty Gabi. I believe I have another clip here from him, Jack. Just give me a second here. Mighty Gabi, Government Boots. Jack, do I have Jack? Okay, so then I think this is it.
I grew up bathing in seawater.
Okay, so this is Jack. Some of you may be aware of that situation. I think it was during Tom Adams's term as Prime Minister of Barbados, and the issue became should the beaches, the Bajan beaches, be reserved for tourists, or should the Bajan people be allowed to bathe freely wherever they wanted to? You know, should the beach become private property to aid the tourist industry, or should it be an asset that Bajans in general should enjoy? And that became a major issue, and this is how Gabi addressed it.
But nowadays, that is the horror. If I only venture down by the shore, police telling me I can't wait no more. Cause Jack don't want me to bathe on my beach. Jack, tell them to kick me out of reach. Jack, tell them I will never make the grade. Strength and security, build barricade. That can happen here in this country. I want Jack to know that the beach belongs to me. That can happen here over my dead body. Tell Jack that I say that the beach belongs to me. The beach is mine, I could bathe anytime. Despite what he say, I can bathe anywhere. The beach is mine, I could bathe anytime. Despite what he say, I can bathe anywhere.
Now, sorry, I don't know about you, but when I hear Calypso music, I have to move, you know, especially when it's cold like it is now. And that's one of the unique things about the music. It brings together the body move, the rhythm, the intellect, the, you know, body, mind, spirit, everything in one envelope. And that's one of the unique things about Calypso music. Now, moving up, because I want to spend some time. Eventually, I'm bringing it home here to Canada. And I have material by the Mighty Sparrow as well, but I'm looking at the time and I'm thinking it's about time I got to this very handsome man here. I'm not sure who he is. I think, it's King Cosmos, Henry Gomez. Okay. This gentleman, that's one, and this is another image here. And I'm going to take you back to the 1990s. It's a time in Canada when we had some serious issues concerning police interaction with the Black community, especially our young Black men. It's a time when the advent of Bad C. There were quite a few police shootings that the city was having a very, very difficult time with. It was the time when a Toronto newspaper was at its zenith, in its heyday. And many people regarded that newspaper as being racist in the way it covered issues having to do with the Black community. And there was no place we could go in the Black community and not hear some discussion about police brutality. And me being a Calypsonian, it affected my consciousness considerably. And there was one newspaper reporter in particular who seemed to specialize in denigrating, at least what many people considered, specialize in the denigration of people of African ancestry, especially young Black men. And so that prompted me to write a calypso called Christie, which won me the Canadian Calypso Monarch competition in 1995. And I want to spend some time on that because you'll hear a number of names, you'll hear a number of situations, and Calypso being the art form that it is, it brings together, in many ways, it's interdisciplinary because it brings together sociology, psychology, geography, history, you name it. They all in a well-written calypso that addresses serious issues. You find that the historical context, the social context, community, all these lenses become lenses through which the Calypsonian addresses issues of major importance. So I'm going to I think instead of doing payback time, which has to do with an issue in South Africa, it was triggered by the Durban Conference in 1991. I will go to, let's see, I'll let you hear a little of that while I set up.
Now is the time. Now is the time. Now is the time.
Oh, sorry about that. My bad. Sorry about that.
Now is the time. Now is the time. Now is the time.
Walked up and you walked out on the Durban Conference. You didn't want to hear about reparations. You said you were supporting Israel, but as Africans, we have a tale to tell.
Now is the time.
A long sad tale of brutality that scars long and deep like the centuries. You're treading our precious human flesh now. It's more than time for you to make redress. Reparations. 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 And this one, it's a King Cosmos composition. One might say it's not a real Calypso as such, if I might use that expression. The style is a bit different. However, it addresses a serious issue, the issue of reparations, which is still ongoing. And I want to go now to Christy, which I hope I can set up without disrupting this too much. I'm taking a bit of a chance here. No, that's not working. And let me try this one. Move this up. Just bear with me a second and open this one. Okay, browse. And come up with track 4. Yes. So I'm going to set this one up. Track 4. Oh. Don't tell me it's not cooperating. Okay. Oh my gosh. And that was supposed to be the pièce de résistance. Okay. Then I would in the meantime, audience, it's not quite the end of my presentation, but I will entertain comments and questions while I switch to plan B, because I think it's really important that you hear Christy this evening. And I do have a plan B, forgive my technical faux pas to some extent, but I'm open to questions or comments that you may have at this point. I'm still here.
I haven't given Dr. Giddens any questions because most of what's in the chat is comments. This is most recently requests for you to sing instead of play your recordings.
Oh my gosh, I wish that I had been told beforehand that oh my what should I sing?
Well,
Now,
whilst
now,
you're,
I beg your pardon?
I certainly have some comments whilst you're thinking about what you may sing.
Yes,
And
please.
it was a wonderful presentation and so far, and I have no doubt that it will continue to be. And you know, so often when we think of Calypso, and you alluded to this, we think of fun and entertainment and dancing. But you have masterfully shown Calypso, the art form that has depicted so much social commentary. And I certainly appreciate that. Last year, I was blessed to visit Ghana, and I visited the Cape Coast Slave Castle.
Ah,
And I tell you, that was such a profound experience, such an eye-opening experience. And
sorry
I
about
was
that.
filled with so much sadness when I saw the gate of no return that you mentioned. And so as I listened to your presentation, there's so many pieces in the social commentary and the use of the Calypso, how many more must die, run away, die with my dignity. All of those pieces have conjured such a picture for me that it's blowing me away for sure. So those are my comments so far.
Which are greatly appreciated. I thank you so very much. And I'm glad that you had the experience of visiting, you said Cape Coast?
Yes.
I'm glad that you had that experience. Is there anyone else who's visited Ghana and had a similar experience? Anybody else? Feel free to say. And even though
in the meantime, Alma had her hand up, and then also Alin suggests that if you if you stop sharing your PowerPoint and you share your MP3 player, you might be able to get that to happen. But I see you have your guitar strapped on, and I will shut up.
Well,
and
you
also
put me on the
actually
spot. Now,
if you're going to be playing for us, maybe you can turn off your presentation, because right now that is taking the lion's share instead
okay.
of instead of your beautiful face.
Right. I thought that the pictures would have sufficed, but okay.
Just stop sharing.
Just click the stop share.
Stop share. Yep. Just thanks for your help and guidance. This is still new territory for me. Now, and again, you've put me on the spot. My voice is not warmed up or anything, okay? But I performed this. I'll do a snippet for you. I performed this at the Door of No Return, both at Dakar, Senegal, Gorée Island, and at Elmina in Ghana. Now, it's not a calypso, but it was so appropriate. This is Bob Marley's Redemption Song, which some of you may know. Old pirates, yes, they rob I, sold I to the merchant ships, minutes after they took I from the bottomless pit. But my hand was made strong by the hand of the Almighty. We forward in this generation triumphantly. Won't you help to sing these songs of freedom for all I ever had? Redemption songs. Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Have no fear for atomic energy. None of them can stop at the time. How long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? Some say it's just a part of it. We've got to fulfill your book. Won't you help to sing these songs of freedom for all I ever had? Redemption songs, redemption songs, redemption songs. That's the song, that's what felt most appropriate. When I was at Goree Island and Elmina. But I still want to play Christie for you, and I believe I've got it set up now. Listen very carefully, and from that, we'll extrapolate quite a few things if we have the time.
If you're playing it on your computer, you might be able to share it. I don't know. I don't usually do that kind of presentation.
Sorry, you said?
I don't know whether it's possible to present it from your computer using share screen. I do not know. I don't usually do audio. I'm a boring
Are you hearing the audio now?
Pardon me?
Tell me if you're hearing the audio.
No.
Now we are. Now we are.
Not well, though. I think.
Is it coming through?
It's coming through, but it could be louder and clearer.
Louder and clear. Okay, very well.
You might be able to share your screen. I don't know. I don't know if it. I don't know.
I'm just wondering.
It was working when I shared the screen, right?
Yeah, if I might just say something, it's Ama.
Yes, Ama.
The words are the most important. Maybe we should go ahead with that rather than trying to hear the music part of it.
Well, the words and music go together. It's one that I've recorded. Let's
Go
see.
ahead and see if you can share it. And I
Yes.
think we could, yeah.
Okay, let's see. Take off the share sound, and let's see what happens.
But now in two kinds of tradition, cosmos is Christy head on. Standing up.
Is that working any better?
A woman named Christy writes as a reporter. Some say that
I can hear it better.
Is it any better?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Go ahead.
So it was just a nightmare that I had descent when I dreamed that this big part came home just to make some life to me. And I couldn't wake up, I can't ball, not the Christy at all. And only thing she does put in the sun, I'm planning to get even. I said, Christy, tell me what you have with this black. Christy, what is your hateful plan? Between we and your white media, like if we cover its line. And you're what people do commit serious crime. Well, what about white? Often I do. And this blonde lover, Father of the murders they committed, so damn gruesome, these two monsters deserve outright condemnation. Christy, kidnap little children, violate them, mutilate them. So keep their fates in this house for the evil deeds they have done. And stop your damn obsession with the black man.
Now, in the interest of time, I'm going to skip a few verses. It's a pretty lengthy calypso, and go closer to the end, and then we'll fill in. Okay, so here
This nation, we is monster. We join up with gun. Suddenly Christy was a three-headed monster. He joined up with gunmen on that night, racing that line. Gardner pulled out a 6-gun, and Lima jumped up with me, and they screamed. Come on, Christy, get lost, go, there we go, stop me. We've been silent for much too long since keep my comic on. You have been right up against the wall. Who wanted to see Dudley fall? I say, Christy, tell me what you have with the black man. Christy, what is your hateful plan? Or you want to crucify Dudley? Or you want to wipe out Betsy? Why police taking target practice on me? Christy, what about the first step on? Red he can come in and with them. They went to Somalia to keep peace safe, but instead they murder Africans down there. All these rebel soldiers in the Ku Klux Klan, keep their face in the sun, don't let them go underground. And stop your damn obsession with the black man.
Okay, I'll stop it there again in the interest of time. And you've heard a number of names. I'll run down a list of names for you. Some of you may be able to make connections. I'll do it very quickly. Christy, I'm not calling any last name, but in the Calypso, which is a conceit that I used, and this has a lot to do with prohibition. When I say prohibition, not with liquor, but ordinances back in Trinidad banning Calypsos. It has to do with legalities. So in my Calypso, the reporter, the character is Christy Bitchfoot, sorry about that. Very important because I have names like Courtney Dahlgren, the Motts and CFRB. We have Italians in Eglinton, Arnold Miners, Susan Eng, Norm Gardner, Art Lima, Dudley, this is Dudley Laws, Bad Sea, police taking target practice, 1st Airborne Regiment, Jojo Chinto, Philippe Rushton, Down Here versus Up Here, racist stereotypes, killing natives and taking their land, Audrey Smith, police running prostitution, Susan Smith, Jeffrey Dahmer, and we can go on and on. And in this Calypso, you can see clearly that the research that had to go into to create this work of art was considerable. It took me quite a while to compose this and to fit the pieces carefully to address some issues that were pressing on the Black community at the time. And that's there was also John Jason Perez, who addressed some of these issues. One of his Calypsos was Cowboy Police. So now I'm open for questions, comments. Sorry about the technical glitches. I'm still getting used to PowerPoint presentations. And thank you very much for being so patient and for being here this evening.
Hi, I want to make a comment. Henry, could you remove your screen so we could see you and others?
Sorry, just a minute now. Let me make sure I know how to do that.
Click on stop share.
Stop share, right? Okay,
Yep.
Wonderful.
There you are.
Okay, nice. Okay. Yeah, I wanted to, number one, I want to say I really enjoyed that presentation. It was fabulous. It did exactly what you had started out to do, which is show the connection between everyday life and the Calypso.
Thank you.
Yeah, and even when we're dancing and we're jumping, that's what we're singing. We're singing these very serious lyrics while we're dancing. And it internalizes the information. I also wanted to make another comment. It's when you talk about the connection between Calypso and West Africa, particularly, in the research that I've done, it shows very clearly that the carnival, carnival was not the name originally. Masquerade was what the name. Carnival was put on it by the colonizers to remove it from the real reason that we were doing. So it was masquerade. During the masquerade, the kings and queens of masquerade were not royalty. They were separate from the real royalty of Ghana, Nigeria, and Senegal, and those places. And the kings and queens of Carnival could make comments on royalty if they thought they were running the country badly, if they thought they had done certain things that shouldn't have been done. They could make those comments without any fear of retribution. And that passed on to the Calypso in the Caribbean. Yes. And it also passed on to the other forms of music like zouk and compa and those things in like Dominica, where I come from, which is more African French than English French, English African. All of that, the reggae, all of the different types of music that have come through in the Caribbean, whether we speak English or not, is influenced at that major thing, which is I can make a comment on my politicians, on my royalty, and there is no problem with it. They don't come after me. And if they do come after me, they really get into it bad with the general population, which is bad for their votes.
That's correct.
That's a comment I wanted to make.
Yes, thank you so much. And it's so pertinent. And some of you may know, some Calypsonians attest that Calypsonians can elect governments and bring down governments as well. And it's been known to happen, especially Barbados and Trinidad and Tobago. And so much so that during the 19th, late 19th, 20th centuries, ordinances had been passed to censor Calypsonians. Now we talk about cancel culture. And there's some Calypsos, for instance, I'll be frank with you, there's a Calypso I'm burning, I'm dying to write about the situation in Palestine, in Gaza. But if I do, and I tell the story the way I want to, I may never work in Canada again, you know, because of cancel culture. I say it with a bit of a smile, but that is, here in Ontario, in Toronto, I remember in 1995 when I wrote this Calypso, I had to go into hiding. There were talks of lawsuits and so on. If it were like now, when I'm a bit bolder and braver and more knowledgeable, I would say, well, bring it on. But at that time, I went into hiding for quite a while because this Calypso was very hard-hitting. Some of you, Chief McCormick, the police chief at the time, Art Lima, who was the head of the police union, Norm Gardner was the police commissioner at the time, Philippe Rushton was a research professor at, I think it was the University of Western Ontario. And there were discussions about, you know, again, the stereotyping of Black men. They are more sexually endowed than intellectually endowed. So and again, in Calypso, one of the things we do skillfully is we use double entendre so that we can say, well, that's what you think it is. That's what's in your head, but that's not what I said. So that's why, for instance, metaphorically, I said, well, Philippe Christie wanted to know if down there was bigger than up here. Now, people may make of that what they, you know, but that's part of the skill in crafting the lyrics in such a way that it leaves the Calypsonian a bit of escape room. However, when things have been historically documented, then you know, the Calypsonian is regarded as presenting an editorial in song. And so these become the opinions of the Calypsonians. And going back to some of the comments Amar made, it's one of the reasons, it's in that tradition, it's one of the reasons that Calypsonians have enjoyed, and maybe enjoyed is not the proper term, but assumed a certain place in society, because especially in the early 20th century, when access to newspapers and so on was not as easy as it is now, the Calypsonians were the ones who distilled the happenings in society and presented it to the general public. So in the tradition of the griot, the Calypsonian enjoyed a special place in society. And Calypso has always been a music of resistance, empowerment, and change, going back to the very first known Calypsonian that we had in Trinidad, who went by the name of Gros Jean, Big John. He was the first Calypso maître in Trinidad. Historically, that's been regarded. I'm open for more questions, comments. And I'm glad to see Dr. Cox made it. Hi, Rita. I'm open for more comments and questions.
Early in your talk, Alorine commented a couple of times about how the address was not just a statement in song, but a direct address to political leaders, naming presidents, prime ministers, a bold stance at the time. Awesome how protest was cleverly done through art, song, moving people unconsciously. We could learn much from today from yesterday.
Certainly can.
And then I realized that I wished that my undergraduates had come tonight. That I have a bunch of musicians I'm teaching who want to figure out how to turn their musicianship into a political movement. And I'm like, well,
wow, where do you teach?
I teach at Toronto Metropolitan.
Well, invite me to do a presentation to
I will do that.
to your students. I would be delighted to do that, and I think that if you would like me to tailor something particularly for the course, for the class, I would be happy to do that.
You're very kind.
Yes. And now I chose Christy because, again, of the issues it addressed. Years ago, I also wrote a praise calypso in honor of Pierre Elliott Trudeau, the father, as you know, the father of the current prime minister. I wrote a praise calypso in his honor because he's seen in our community as having done so much to open the doors of immigration to people from the Caribbean. So you have, you know, that Sankofa, that Janus-headed figure, looking at, it doesn't have to be censure, ridicule only, but it can also be praise, which again is exactly what the griots were known to do.
You're bringing up the Sun and Christine Blatchford sent a chill through many of us.
Sorry, I beg your pardon?
When you brought up the Toronto Sun and Christy Blatchford, it put a chill through many.
No. I never said Christy Blatchford.
I'm sorry. I did. I did.
You see.
Sorry, I don't want to get anybody into trouble. I'm in enough trouble already.
I know. I said Christy, and then I said Miss Bitchford, but I never said Christy Blatchford. Okay, but go ahead, Allison. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. I was just saying that there was a lot of resonance there. We all heard you clearly.
I see Dr. Cox laughing. I have to tell you guys, unashamedly, Dr. Cox is one of my favorite persons. She's been a mentor to me over many years, even though I've been a naughty boy at times, but she's stuck with me. She never abandoned me. This is a woman I hold in high esteem, very high esteem. Ahmad too has played a major role in my career development, and I acknowledge that openly.
I want to also say, as you say about Dr. Cox, Dr. Reitz, she has mentored so many of us in
Yes.
our community, not just in the Black community, in the larger community as well, and a special gem to us all. I just want to lift that up.
Yes. Give her roses while she is still alive.
Amma, can you tell us, do you teach somewhere? You sound very learned to me.
That's very sweet. Yeah, I used to co-direct Black Theatre Canada, and I started Theatre in the Rough, which was an anti-racism organization. We used to parallel apartheid with racism because they said it was in our head, you see. So if we paralleled it with apartheid, it was no longer in our head. And we did a lot of experiential workshops. We went to, and it sounds impossible, but we toured hundreds of thousands of human beings with all of that. Children and adults, corporations. I'm also a teacher. And in the turn of the century, that makes me sound very old, I am. The turn of the century, I went back into the classroom because I'm a qualified teacher, and brought that into the classroom. And I was blessed with incredible principals who allowed me to teach the way I knew to teach. So thank you for recognizing me.
It pours out of you. Your identity is obvious.
Yes, the pouring out of me comes from my mother, I have to say. I got that from her. That was her. She was incredible. I was brought up in Dominica. She's Jamaican, married to a Dominican, lived in Dominica, and was incredible in Dominica. Yeah.
We need another night on apartheid and theater.
Well, that can be arranged. Just let us know.
Yes, that would be wonderful.
I see, is it Aldrine has got a hand up? Oh, the hand's disappeared. I thought it was Aldrine.
For a night of further discussion.
I didn't quite get that.
Sorry, I was saying it was a thumbs up in agreement to have another night of discussion.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Don't be shy.
I wrote a comment in regards to Calypso music. Growing up, it was not viewed as the kind of music that we could, I'm from the Caribbean, Jamaica, that we could have necessarily around church, the way the dance. It was considered at some points a little bit more vulgar, especially like the dressing. And so just curious, how would you explain that to other people to have the understanding of the music that takes on a political point? Oftentimes it does have a lot of biblical references, but at the same time, how do you put the connection together, especially because of math? Just interested to hear your comments on that.
Okay, someone might have to help me because you were breaking up quite a bit, so I didn't get the entire comment and then question.
Can you hear me better? The question, actually, I wrote it up in the commentary, just above Pat.
Did you say you put it in the chat?
Yes, I
Yeah,
did.
I'll read it out. It says,
Please, thanks.
not sure how to phrase, but some view Calypso because of the dance as vulgar. Oops, wait. Sorry, I lost it. Any comment about, shoot. Any comment about the connection? We couldn't have Calypso at church growing up.
When you meant, hold on. Okay, I'm looking for also many of the, no, not the names mentioned. Okay, I got the part about Calypso, the church growing up. Well, We can spend an entire evening on that aspect of the art form. And as Amar indicated, Calypso, steel pan, carnival, they go together. And again, like the blues in the United States, Calypso for a long time, and still now in some circles, is regarded, quote, as devil's music. A steel pan, which has gained a degree of respectability worldwide. These art forms, all the masquerade carnival art forms, were associated with lewdness, with the devil. The churches were very much against any kind of participation in these art forms. I can tell you that I had encounters with the police in my hometown because of my involvement in steel pan and Calypso. So yes, there was a time when it was sacrilegious. One couldn't think of having steel pan and Calypso in the church. That has changed considerably.
Could I make a comment? I think I got something that she said that you had. She's talking about when people who, let's put it this way, when people who are not from the Caribbean, and I'm going to say that, only see one type of dancing as far as Calypso during masquerade. It wasn't like that when it started.
Okay.
Now, unfortunately, the young ladies are practically nude, and the dancing on the streets is vulgar. That is not something that is widespread or something that we can brand Calypso with, because it wouldn't be fair to brand Calypso as that. However, we cannot misunderstand and think that that is what people are trying to say about us. That is what they see. That is what, in the last 15, 20 years, that's what they've been seeing on the street. So that is what they figure is the problem. What you mentioned is a different thing, because Calypso, Zouk and Compadre, reggae, all of those things came out of people of African descent. It was put down by the colonizers. And that is the reason why it was not played in church, why the Calypso, the steel band wasn't played in church. Anything that we originated as people of African descent was not acceptable. So, for example, the Jamaican language, which is now accepted by government as a language and is taught at university here, and the Creole, which we speak in the African French countries, which has been accepted as a language since the 70s, was looked down on because it originated out of the African peoples in the Caribbean. So that's why it wasn't played in church, and that's why we would not.
Yes.
But I have seen entire masses in the Catholic Church. I'm Catholic. Done with Calypso and done with Zouk and done with
steel
that.
pan.
Yeah, but I think that has been mixed within what is seen on the street here during carnival time, during the carnival parade.
The kind of, yes. Thanks, Amar. And again, these oppositional forces, if I should call them that, it's impossible. Well, I shouldn't say impossible because people do it, but it takes away a great deal if one views these art forms, the Calypso, steel pan, masquerade, if one looks at them in isolation from colonialism, if one looks at them in isolation from the much bigger picture. And I say these have always been oppositional forces because they came out again, resistance, empowerment, and change. It was that cultural, artistic form of resistance to colonialism, resistance to being corralled and controlled all the time. So historically, that's the context of the evolution of the art form. Unfortunately, with cultural flows and commercialism, which is where we are now, we see that the quote unquote carnival, which is the Latinate term as opposed to masquerade, we see that it's become more of a street party. And we have these ongoing discussions all the time. What are we portraying when we say carnival? Here in Toronto, that's what it has become for the major part. Now, feminists in the audience, please don't lynch me, but many of your sisters who masquerade, who play carnival, unfortunately, and have seized this event to assert their femininity or their independence, whatever you want to call it, in a particular way. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying this is how they have chosen. And if any of you have conversations with mass band leaders, they would tell you that as much as they would like to cover the female body and make the costume the center of the presentation, it is the more the females resist. And so everything has been turned around. So instead of the body displaying the costume, it is the costume revealing the body, so that there is less fabric and more flesh, if I might use that expression. And this, this you can see. So it's an ongoing debate. Where will it end? I don't know, because there's an evolution. If one were to go back over, let's say, the 50s, 60s, 70s, one would see that masquerade was very different. And the portrayals of themes and so on was very, very, very different. It was not so much the female body. Now, many times in Toronto, I've heard some masqueraders say, well, we're going to be just like Brazil. Unfortunately, many of them have not been to Brazil, and maybe they have not even seen the videos of a Brazilian carnival, which is on a totally different level. So even though there's a degree of nudity in the Brazilian carnival, the art form is still at the center, and the nudity has a kind of sacredness to it, you know? So it's we can have this debate for a very, very long time. And I'm not taking sides any which way. I'm simply acknowledging what is, and trying to stay true to my let's say my calling as a Calypsonian, as a social commentator, one who is deeply interested in geopolitics and the media, and one who is deeply concerned about our cancel culture and the ongoing move by the authorities to silence. You know, in a way, it's as though we're in medieval times. In terms of oh, there's a pun in here somewhere, medieval times in terms of the media, because the banishment and isolation, there may not be physical city gates anymore, but certainly the media have their gatekeepers and so on. Fortunately, we see that individuals, through their creative devices and through the technology, find ways of countering and again resisting, empowering, and changing conditions. Sorry, I think I'm talking too much. Sorry about that.
Oh, well, thank you so much for those thoughts. And you know, as I mentioned earlier, it's been masterful. So I'm going to call on Reverend Leonard and for the vote of thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Leonard? Maybe he stepped away. Reverend Leonard, are you there? Maybe not.
Don't know.
So
Well, Anita, I guess you'll have to do it, or Allison.
I will have to do that. And I am delighted. I am delighted to thank you for your time. And, from the very beginning, I keep saying it's been masterfully crafted and you've really opened our eyes. And towards the end, we talked a bit about what we see now for Carnival and, that all about the dancing, but it takes away from the commentary. But tonight you brought it all together. And again, as I mentioned earlier, it really resonated with me, my visit to the Cape Coast Castle. And
Yes.
I was born in Barbados. So when you went to Gabby and, you talked about Jack and the government boots, I was right there with you.
Wow.
For sure. So I want to thank you for that. And we've heard mentioned that maybe we should look at a continuation. I would certainly support that. So
Yeah,
again,
thank you.
from the bottom of my heart, sincere thanks for spending this time with us and for opening our eyes that way.
Yes, and thank you all. If I may, a shameless plug. On the 2nd of February, I'll be with the band Pimento at the Cyril Clarke Lecture Hall in Brampton. We'll be doing a tribute to the late, great Harry Belafonte. So if for those of you, I think the name should ring a bell. If it doesn't, look it up, because he was very crucial and instrumental in exposing Calypso music to the world. And we'll be doing a tribute to him as part of Black History Month, February 2nd at the Cyril Clarke Lecture Hall in Brampton. And one more. The Organization of Calypso Performing Artists, OCPA, which I had at the end of my slide, but I didn't show. I have to give a plug to that organization and the Festival Management Committee and the Caribana Arts Group as well.